Today, my guest expert was an HGTV real estate superstar, as well as a professional snowboarder. He's going to talk about how failing is part of the journey. We're going to talk about buying low, selling high, and we are going to give you the behind scenes, what really happens on HGTV and the truth of real estate investing. Here we go. Welcome, income hackers. This is your host, Ryan G. Wright. This podcast is for individuals and families who are interested in fast-tracking their financial success. You'll hear experts discussing topics like generating a residual cash flow, building wealth through real estate, financial literacy, creating a family legacy, and overcoming your fears. If you get value out of this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It's a big help to me. All right, income hackers, I have a very special guest for us today. Our guest was featured on HGTV, ran a show called Risky Builders. He's been a professional snowboarder, so he's done it all. He's done hundreds of real estate transactions, multiple wholesale deals, and he's been in the financial services industry as well, managed $30 million of assets. You name it, he has done it. I'm super excited to have Chris Naugle with us today. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely. I'm honored.
Dude, your bio, you've done so much stuff. I know I left like 12 things out. Because I know you've got Flip Out Academy. I know you've got the Money School, REI. I know you've got your own website. Like you've done a ton. Let's talk. I know right now you're really talking about money and some of the myths of money and that type of stuff. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, so one of the big things, being a financial advisor for 16 years, it started when I was young. It was 2003 when I got into the financial services, and I did really well. I was one of the top guys. Ran that while I was running. I was an ex-pro snowboarder, as you mentioned. I had snowboard shops alongside. It was a lifestyle business. I actually landed in the financial services industry in early 2000s when the planes hit the tower because I couldn't make ends meet, and I was always self-employed. So I literally had to say to myself, I got to go back to work to be able to afford my car and my phone. And that's what landed me.
When you say financial services, just for all of our listeners, what is that? Like a stockbroker or like what were you kind of doing? Okay.
Yeah. So the easiest way is stockbroker. Have you ever seen the movie Wall Street? Welcome. Yeah, that's what I did. I started actually, my first career was a company called New York Life. I was doing life insurance. Then I graduated from that into the RIA division, which was managed money. Then I moved over to the Schwab side of things, and I was strictly I had my own practice and just managing lots and lots of money, managing portfolios, buying, selling, building people's portfolios and helping people retire. I did a lot in those 16 years. It was a lot of fun.
You've been on both sides of this thing, man. Like you've been on the what I call the dark side, and now you're on the dark versus light side, I guess, or white side.
It's the white side compared to the investment advisory.
So why do you make the change? Like, how did you get into the real estate game and that type of stuff?
Sure. I was doing the advisory, pro snowboarder at that time, and I was running my stores. And in 2008, I was crushing it as an advisor. I was making a ton of money. So I had just been flipping a couple houses. I watched the show on TV, and I was like, I can do that. So I started flipping houses, which we're not even going to get into that. They were a disaster, but I did it. And then in 2008, I bought a strip mall to completely renovate and convert it and move my store into it. And that's when the bottom fell out. And that's kind of when the story really starts is I got hit like a Mack truck. I was highly leveraged. And when that happened, I was one payment away from being completely bankrupt. And, I had my girlfriend who had just moved in helping me pay my mortgage, my utilities. We rented rooms out in my house. I did whatever it took to make it through that time. And right after that, I was a Warren Buffett fan. He always talks about his 3 principles of investing: buy low, sell high, and don't lose money. So at that point, 2009, I was like, wow, I can buy low. So I started buying real estate, pennies on the dollar. And I did that from 9 to 14, got up to 36 units, thought everything was going awesome. And this is kind of where, I always tell people everything that I was taught as an advisor, everything I was taught to do, everything I was taught that was the right way that money worked. At that point in time in 14, I learned, holy crap, it's not. This isn't what the wealthy do. This isn't what multimillionaires do. This isn't what the successful investors do. And in 14, I hit the proverbial debt to debt income ratio limit. And the bank froze all my lines of credit. They wouldn't loan me any more money. I had to sell all 36 units. I had to sell my dream house. I was living paycheck to paycheck, again, making well over, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I was paycheck to paycheck. Now, to some people, that won't make sense, but when you're leveraged and all of a sudden the carpet gets pulled out from underneath you, that's not a hard thing to do. And at that moment, that's when I really started asking the questions and seeking the knowledge that these people had. And I started literally, I swiped my cards, I maxed my credit cards out, I traveled to every single event that I could where this handful of successful investors that I admired were, and I started mentoring with them, paying them to mentor me, and that began my journey in 14, and I have not stopped doing that today. I spend well into probably 150 grand a year going to masterminds, going for mentorship with people that are way above me, billionaires. I mean, I try to surround myself with as many multimillionaires and billionaires, and I always ask them the one simple question: what do you do with money? And the answers I get and the things that you would hear, everybody's thinking, oh, that must be super advanced. Folks, it is so freaking simple. The principles that they use for their money, and I'm talking about billionaires, are things that every single person in America can apply and do if they wanted and if they just learned how to do it. And as soon as I started seeing this, and when you see it first, you're like, huh. And then you see it again, and then you're talking to another multimillionaire, and they're like, yeah, we're doing that. And you're talking to another one, and oh, yeah, we've been doing that. Our family office does that. You all of a sudden connect the dots, and you're like, whoa, I've been living the big lie. And that was my realization. In 18, when I left the financial advisory world, I sold my practice. And it's kind of weird. I may have never left and got out of that industry if it wasn't for the HGTV show.
Wow.
We worked on that show from 2015 till 2000, whatever that was, 17. And when we got it, and I was actually airing, I had to tell my broker dealer, and they said, okay, well, good for you, buddy. You have to make a decision. And I'm like, yeah, what's that? And they're like, well, you have to decide, are you going to be an advisor or a TV show star?
Wow.
I said, oh, I'm not going to say the real words that I said, but I said, thank you, see you later, piss off, you sons of, beep, beep, beep. Yeah. Anyway, and that's what got me out of the financial advisory world.
Wow. You're forced, you had to make a choice.
I did. And it was awesome, but it was scary. But once I did that, one door closes and a bunch more doors open. And when the show didn't go on to the next series, I was literally lost. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I started thinking, I have to go out and I have to teach people the truth about how money really works and map out the millionaire mystery of what I've learned all these years. And that's kind of, sorry that was long-winded, but that's what
awesome.
I did.
So you teased us a little bit with some of these myths of the billionaires and millionaires, debunking a few. You mind sharing one or two with us of something that's like very applicable to anybody?
Yeah, so I mean, I was going to save this to the end, but one of the biggest things I realized, in my journeys of watching all these people, I always saw that the wealthy were always acting in the capacity of a bank. They were doing and mimicking what banks were doing, and I'll keep it simple, but loaning money. They were all private lending, and they were doing it in a lot of different capacities, whether it was venture capital for some of the billionaires, but a lot of them loved the real estate space because it was that tangible asset that they could touch, they could feel, they can, it's never going anywhere. And I realized that they were literally doing lots of this lending. And I kept saying to myself, man, someday when I have millions of dollars, I'm going to do what they do. And then as I got in their circles, I started realizing they're not lending their own money. Why would they ever use their own money to lend it? They're using their money to go out and fund their businesses and fund people. They spend ungodly amounts of money finding people and building people up. And that's what they do. But the money that they lend, which isn't even theirs, the money they lend is how they're basically kind of seed funding, if you will, everything. So they literally mimic what the bank does. And that might seem really complicated, but it is so freaking simple. And here's the simple principle of it. All they do is solve people's problems. And the simplest problem that every single person on this earth has is they all want to make more money. So I don't care if you got a lender or somebody that has money, they want to make more money, and you got a borrower, who would just be an investor who wants to make more money, but they need money. So the lender, the person that has money, to make money, they have to make their money work for them. They have to find a way to make that money work harder than they do. And the borrower has to find a way to solve that lender's or that investor's problem. And their problem is easy to solve. They want to make more money. So the borrowers, the investors, all they have to do is solve a problem, and the lenders are just waiting for someone to come and solve their problem. As soon as you connect the dots for that, you literally just found out how to do it. So then you might say, well, what are they doing? Well, start learning about self-directed IRAs, start learning about home equity lines of credit, and teach people how to have their house pay for their car by tapping into the equity that is literally just sitting there doing nothing. You know, one of my favorite things is when I hear somebody that's paid off their house, and you've probably heard this before, you know, somebody pays their house off, they have a big party. These are my favorite parties to go to. I don't just go for the free beer, I go because it's just comical. I go there, I say, congratulations on paying your house off, you did an amazing thing, but can I ask you a question? And then they offer you a beer and you take that, but can I ask you a question? What has changed in your life since you paid your house off? Oh, well, I don't know. I don't have a mortgage payment. Yeah, no. But like, are you taking more vacations? Do you have financial freedom? Well, no, I still have to pay taxes and everything else. He said, exactly. Your house is a liability. And just because you paid it off, it's never going to change. Nothing's going to change in your life until you learn how to take that money and put that money to work. And that's just called a home equity line of credit, but then making that money work in a safe way, just like the banks do. I mean, there's just so many things we could talk about. 401k loans. I mean, I could go on for days, but these are the things that the wealthy do. They basically know how to use money. They know how to make money work for them. And all they do is they took what banks do, because banks are genius when it comes to money. You might not like them, but they are genius with what they do with money. And you just mimic what they do. And then you just find the vehicles and the machines to basically run the money through, because you need a good machine to basically circulate the money in an efficient manner. And that's it.
I love it. You know, we've always said the money's in the money, right?
Absolutely. It starts with money and it ends with money.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk, Chris, what would you say is one of your first income hacks?
One of my first income hacks? Gosh, it goes back to when I was in high school. I mean, when I worked as a young kid, I worked on a farm. And I remember it was never enough, and I came from a very humble beginning. So I would take anything I could, and I would find it, and I'd bring it to school in a backpack, and I would sell it. And it started with Jolly Ranchers, and then that moved. I had an art teacher that printed T-shirts, and I got him to print some drawings that I had done on shirts, and I started selling them in school. Now, remember, this is back, I was just a kid, and I was using the money from the sale of the T-shirts, the hats, the Jolly Ranchers, that was just lunch money, but that was what was funding me to get in my car and travel to Vermont and other places to snowboard in bigger contests than what I had locally. So that was the first thing. I literally just found little ways using the network, which was the high school, to make money to, fund my dream.
It's fantastic. I love it. My boys are selling mechanical pens at school that are really cool. Or I'm sorry, erasable ink. So they've got pens that you can write and then erase with it. And no one ever saw them at school. And they buy them off Amazon and make a couple of bucks on each one. And all the kids are going crazy because they've never seen the erasable pens. And anyway, it gives me hope that we're on the right direction with the boys. So, what about an income hacker mistake?
Income hacker mistake? I've made more mistakes than I know what to do. And my biggest mistake was always probably jumping too fast. I'm an A type, so when I got an idea, I just jump at it, and I sometimes fail to do some of the research necessary to really support it. So let's see, what was one of my big income hacks? I remember when I had my retail stores, I got this crazy idea to start a girls' clothing line and open a store in the mall, and I did that, and it bombed off. It just completely tanked and crashed and burned. And that was my first business that actually failed. And I just, in my mind, I just totally thought it was going to be the next huge thing. And it didn't go well.
Introducing the Investor's Edge real estate investing software for fix and flip pros. Target the most profitable deals in your area with ease and start capitalizing on opportunities you didn't even know existed. This simple-to-use software will make it easy to find properties for your flip and fix business, so you can focus on what you do best. Call 801-921-8751 after this podcast to get set up on a free trial.
What would you say to somebody that maybe is going through one of those difficulties and is kind of ready to give up, right? Like, I tried something, or I've made some offers on properties and I never got one, or, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. What would you say to somebody that's sitting, listening to us right now, that's like maybe at the point where they're like, I I don't know what to do. It's been a failure so far.
I'll say two things. I'll say the very first thing is the only way anyone can ever fail at anything is to quit. So that's the absolute worst thing. So maybe things don't seem like they're going. Maybe it's more work, but just understand this. Every single successful person I've ever surrounded myself with has failed. And if they haven't failed, then they haven't succeeded. Because the only way you're ever going to really get to the levels of success that you really want is to either fail or work with somebody that's failed that helps you not fail. But that would be the biggest advice. Don't be afraid of failing. You got to go at it, and you just got to go down that road. And hey, if it doesn't work, oh well, guess what? You will learn more from each and every single failure than you will ever learn from a success. Trust me on that one.
Yeah, spoken from a pro snowboarder, right? I'm assuming you got to take a lot of hard falls to make one of the tricks that I don't know what type of snowboarder, acrobatic or what type of stuff you do.
So I was slopestyle, rails, half pipe, and big air. So
okay, yeah,
we don't in 30 minutes we don't have enough time to talk about all the injuries. But yes, I've broken.
Yeah, in big air you failed a few times, I bet.
Many times. I just got hurt again in a contest in March last year. But you know what? The thing is you can't fear getting hurt. You can't fear failure. Fear is just an illusion. It's not even real. And in snowboarding, one of the biggest things we had to do is overcome fear every single day. And you just knew, you went into the season knowing you're going to get hurt. The question was always, how fast can I get back up? You know, like Rocky says, it doesn't matter how many times you get hit, it's how many times you get back up or something. Yeah, that wasn't exact, but you get the point. Snowboarding was no different. In business, in any business venture, it's exactly the same. It doesn't matter how many times you go down. It doesn't matter how many times you fail. The only things that matter is how many times are you getting back up and getting back in the game. That's all that matters.
Well, and I really love this topic because I think somebody that's trying to get started in anything, growing a business, real estate, going to some of these concepts, they look on Instagram or whatever the case is, and it just looks so easy for everyone else. Everybody looks like an overnight success, right? Like, oh, they just found this property and made all this money. It's like, no, it took them a year to find the property. It took them 6 months to find the property. So I think that our society is kind of, gearing people towards like, it's just so easy. It's so easy. It's so easy. And I think the principles are easy, but I think the work that's necessary takes work, right? I won't say it's hard, but I'll say it's work. And so it's really easy to look at that Instagram picture and be like, oh my goodness, they just found this property, they're rehabbing this property, and everybody's an overnight success. And it never works out like that. When you really dig into it, you find that the overnight success took a year. A lot of hard work and a lot of failures in between there. So this mindset of like, how do I fix my mindset to not give up through the process? I think is so critical to people having success.
You couldn't be more right there. I mean, unfortunately, we do live in a world where everything seems perfect on Instagram, but that's what people want you to see. Flipping a house, I mean, you might see, our show, 23-minute run time, and it makes it look like it's awesome. But what you don't know is that house took 8 months. It went over budget. That house had multiple private lenders because we kept going over budget. We had building inspectors shut the job down. We had water coming in the basement that we couldn't seem to stop. Those are the things you don't see.
Yeah.
And that's what you don't see on Instagram and you don't see on Facebook. You don't see the reality of how much work really goes into being successful. If you think that being successful is literally just coming up with a widget, going on Facebook and trying to sell it, just remember that one girl who had millions of followers, and somebody gave her a shirt, or she came up with a shirt line and she posted one shirt, and all she had to do was sell one, and she didn't sell any. So what the perception is not always the reality, and that's exactly the problem. You have to understand that everything that you're going to do, especially real estate, is going to take a lot of hard work, long hours, stress, lose your hair kind of stress. I mean, it's going to be hard, but you know what the good thing is? I make that sound bad. The end result is complete freedom. Freedom that no one that's working a 9 to 5 can have. Freedom for you to write whatever you want your future to look like. But the problem most people have is they don't go any further than the end of their nose. If you want to have long-standing success, you have to start at the end. What is your perfect day? You want success? Then write out, I don't care if it takes 10 pages, write out your perfect day and then figure out every step that it's going to take you to get to that perfect day. If your perfect day requires a $500,000 income, back that out over the time that you're willing to put in and figure out every single minute of every day what you should be doing to get to that goal. Yeah. And you think that that's a joke, but that's exactly what I do. I did it at the end of December, but every January I sit down and I write my perfect day. And I literally back that up and I say, how many calls do I have to make every day? How many leads do I need to get? How many events do I need to speak at? How many houses do I have to flip? You get what I'm saying? You guys gotta keep going through it.
Reverse engineering success. Reverse engineer the success. I love it. I love it. We call it a blueprint. We call it creating a blueprint. We create financial blueprints and that stuff. And Next Deal, we have a software called the Next Deal Blueprint, where it says, I want to do a deal. Okay, what are you going to do it? Calls, voice broadcast, knock on doors, bandit signs. Okay, how many do I have to do? It reverse engineers the entire thing for you. So then you can say, okay, this is what I got to do, and this is how long it's going to take me to get it. Statistically speaking, could be higher, could be lower. I love it. I just need to highlight this point because I've never had an HGTV star on the show. So I'm really excited about that. Income Hacker Nation's excited. You can hear them applauding. But I talk about this all the time, that HGTV reality shows aren't reality. I talk about it all the time, how HGTV and bless them because we watch it all day. I love it. But it's not reality. It's an illusion. And, when you get on there, the show starts by, oh, we found a property, miraculous. I got a phone call and we got a deal. And, finding the deal takes 12 seconds, right? And then, getting the rehab done takes 7 minutes, right? And then reselling the property takes 2 minutes, so you take this, by the time I'm done having dinner, they're completely done and they have this paycheck for $50,000, but they forgot to take out all the interest and, they use fuzzy math to come up with that.
Do you really think they paid for all that material too? Just saying.
But I mean, so the idea is, and I'm not against it, like it's great TV. I love watching it, but it glorifies doing real estate deals and makes it seem like it's just a snap of the finger. And so when somebody struggles with the success to have one of those, or it takes them longer than 12 seconds to find a property, they start getting frustrated and they start giving up or having fear and those types of things. So I really just want to highlight this idea of, you don't find properties in 12 seconds. You don't fix properties in 7 minutes. And there are a lot of problems that happen, like the water and everything else you talked about, that doesn't ever get shown on TV because for whatever reason, it doesn't make good TV for that episode from whatever some producer says.
Oh, they just don't have time to put it all in there.
Can't show it all. Yeah, there you go. So I just want to highlight that because we all love those shows. I love them. I've got it playing right now in the office next door. We watch HGTV all day long. I'm nothing against them, but it gives an illusion of reality, not true reality. It can be done, but it takes a lot of hard work and dedication. And you got to fight through the battles, and you got to know you're going to fall sometimes. Like you on the snowboard, you're gonna crash and burn a few times. You got to figure out how to do that. So, anything you want to add on that? I just really want to highlight.
I mean, you're spot on. I mean, you just got to take it for what it is. It is entertainment. It's showbiz, right? They want to show it so that it looks fun and it's entertaining to watch. Otherwise, nobody would watch it if they showed all the things that happen, the reality of it. It's just, you take it at face value. It should get people excited because that's how me and my wife got excited. Without that, we wouldn't be where we're at.
Totally.
However, you have to realize that you're not going to flip a house in 23 minutes. And you're not going to find a house in literally one auction. You might have to go to the auction like Tarek and Christina used to. You might have to go 15 times before you get one house. You might have to mail 5,000 letters before you get one lead that converts to a sale. It's just a numbers game. So
Yep.
Like you were saying, that blueprint, like I can't believe people aren't lining up at your door to buy that blueprint. If people only knew how valuable that is, and you had the answer right there, the blueprint, they should be lining up to take you up on that and buy that.
They're lining. We got a line.
There you go. All right.
No, I just teasing, but yeah, I mean, we reversed engineered it so you don't have to think about it, right? It's like plug this in, and it's actually really cool because you can put your experience level, and if you want to spend money or you have sweat equity, so you can go out there and knock on doors, make phone calls yourself, or you can use postcards, technology, voice broadcast, text message, that type of stuff. This costs money, this doesn't. If you're using sweat equity, it takes longer, right? It's time or money. The more money you can pull out, it does all the math for you on that. It gives you a really good guide. So
I love that.
Let's talk about a success. What's one of your biggest income hacker successes?
Biggest income hacker success, and this is going to sound really weird, was the day when I was able to show my mom how to have her house pay for her car. And I know that seems so silly, but you know what? Sometimes you got to put your goals and your plans aside for somebody else's. And that was the biggest monumental win for me, is the day I literally realized that my mom's equity in her house could pay for her car because I could show her how to lend that money on real estate deals, and the money, the $334 a month she makes on that loan, pays for her car.
I love it. I love it. And you've got a video and stuff on this, right? The moneyschoolrei.com/TMMM, 3 M's. And it talks about how you can pay for your car with your house. Is that the idea, or did I mess it up?
So that video shows people, well, it shows a lot of things, but it's a banking principle that shows people how to get all the money back for every single car they will ever buy, drive, and own.
Ah, that's fantastic. And give us the website again, just so everybody can jot it down. We'll put it in the show notes as well. But
yeah, it's moneyschoolrei.com/TMMM. So awesome. T-triple-M.
Awesome. Okay, let's ask the hard question. We ask it to all of our guests. If you had to start all over, you have your family, you have your knowledge, but you lost everything else. You've got $1,000 in your pocket. You had to start all over. What would you do?
The very first thing I would do is I would find somebody that needed that $1,000 more than me, and I would give it to them, because if you give, you get. And then from there, I would just take the knowledge and I could rebuild everything I've built 10 times faster and probably better, because I wouldn't have the hurdles to climb over, because I've already learned from failing enough times that I could just rebuild it. The giving part is the one secret that too many people don't understand. If you give, you get. And I don't even know how to explain that.
Wow. That's awesome. Give, you get. I like it. Let's talk legacy for a minute. What are you doing to help other people, next generation? I don't know if you have kids, that type of stuff. What are you doing to teach them financial principles?
So, well, I don't have any kids. I have my first daughter on the way, coming in May. So pretty excited
Congrats.
about that.
That's awesome. Life's going to change a little.
I hear. I've heard over and over. But one of the
it's great though. I don't mean that derogatory at all. I love being a dad. It's probably the biggest joy in my life.
Yeah, and I've heard that over and over. And, I know it's going to be a lot of work and life-changing, but I'm ready for it. I'm 42 now, and it's time. So,
that's great.
What I really pride myself in doing is I literally travel around the country, sometimes and a lot of times on my own nickel, to speak at small events of all different things, whether it's high schools or whether it's, different RIAs that I speak at and meetups. And all I do is I teach people the principles of how money works. And the funniest thing that I've learned is, I've gone to all these the Grant Cardone events. I love Grant Cardone, but they're just a big pitch fest. So one thing I do not do is I never sell. I just teach people. I show them the reality and the truth, and then I just show them how to change their life. And I wish I would have known that 10 years ago, that was the secret. It's just give. And if you just keep doing that and you help people, show them the way to freedom, your life changes. So money I can't even begin to tell you, I don't even need to ask for money. It flows to me. And it sounds like that book, what is it, The Secret, but it's the truth. All I do is I travel around teaching people how money really works in simple principles, like, how to get all the money back for every car you're ever going to buy, drive, and own, or how to recycle and recapture all the money that you're giving to everybody else, whether it be credit card companies or debts, how to get that money back. And I show them how to do that in an hour or less. And it changes people's lives. And my Instagram blows up, my Facebook blows up. People are all the time referring me. You got to talk to him. This guy's got this. You got to see that. And I don't know.
Love it. Fantastic. Well, we're running a little bit low on time here. It's probably time for us to jump to our wrap-up session. What's your favorite book?
I have so many favorite books, but Think and Grow Rich is my absolute favorite of all time.
Love it. What about a favorite app on your phone?
Starbucks app.
That's great.
I can't get going in the morning without that.
That's awesome. Let's say you have all day long, money's no object, no obligations, do anything. You got a free day, let's call it. What would you do?
Oh, gosh. I'd probably surf. That would
surf?
be my
Does snowboarding and surfing, do those translate?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, they translate pretty well.
Surfing, you're just in the sun, and snowboarding, you're in the freezing cold. So,
the movement and that type of stuff's pretty.
Yeah, the biggest difference between surfing and snowboarding would be that the ocean is ever changing and constantly changing. So you have to learn how to basically be part of the ocean.
How to read it versus what the slope's not going to change.
Snow is snow. I mean, powder is a little different than hard pack, but yeah, surfing.
I've always wanted. I've surfed twice. Took a lesson. It was pretty fun. I mean, I stood up. I don't call that surfing, but
yeah, no, it is surfing.
I stood up. So cool. Chris, how can people reach you?
So chrisnaugle.com is the best way, and I'm all over social media. If you just punch my name in, and then the last name is spelled Naugle, you'll find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all all that stuff. I'm all over the place.
Awesome. Final words for income hackers.
Stop taking advice. Well, actually, here, let me give it. Can I just do a quote from one of my favorite of all times? Will Rogers is one of my all-time favorite quotes, and he says, "The problem in America is not what people don't know. The problem in America is what people think they know that just ain't so." So my advice would be stop taking advice from people that think they know what they just don't know.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Awesome, man. Well, Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's not every day we get an HGTV star on the show, so I love that. And I'm glad all the truth I've been preaching is truth. You can validate that for me. But thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate having you.
I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
If you got value out of our discussion today, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It's a big help to me. Also, please share with a friend. Nothing is more valuable than creating financial friends who are like-minded. You can do that by inviting them to listen to the Income Hacker podcast. Bye for now, and make it a very profitable day.
Income Hacker may receive payment on the show from sponsors and guests in the form of books, giveaway items, discounts, or other remunerations. This show is for entertainment purposes only, and before making any financial moves, consult with a professional who can intimately understand your personal situation.